Good evening and welcome to the August 11th, 2025 meeting for Economic Development and Planning Committee. First item on our agenda is public participation. If we have anyone that would like to address the committee, you can please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into the approval of the minutes. If you've had a chance to review those, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve our minutes from our July the 14th meeting as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes have been approved. Okay, we'll go ahead and move into economic development. Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mr. President. First thing I would like to talk about is the Vance property updates, and we've been working on this for a very long time. It may seem like we haven't got anywhere, but I would suggest quite the opposite, that we've done a tremendous amount of work changing our own policies to make this a viable process. This has failed 3 to 4 times over its 40 years coming in for different reasons. One of the reasons is council wanted to know more. You wanted to see what the concepts were. Don't just bring it into the city and then we'll figure it out later. So we amended Rule 23 to allow you to do that, so we could all get together, see a concept plan, and speak with one voice back to me on how we want to proceed. The developers wanted assurances too, and we got that through development agreements, so pre-annexation agreements, so that they know what to expect, so that there's not a bait and switch on either sides. We had zoning issues. We got to zone this property, but the easy zones are done. Now we're looking into planned unit developments. So we modified our entire planned unit development code, and then we're entering into these contracts for planned unit development. These have effects, these developments have effects on the general public through traffic, through water, through sewer. So we created an impact fee schedule that will address those issues. That's the filling up the coffee fund that Glenn likes to talk about, so that we can go forward and have sustainable growth over the long term. Once the parcels are in, and this one's in, and once the parcels have been zoned, this one has been zoned, now we get to work on engineering. And the last thing we talked about was improvements beyond what they want, but what we want as a city, oversizing collector streets instead of just regular streets. And we decided, are some of those important? Because now's the time to do it. You don't want to do it after the road's in to tear it down to put bigger pipes in. You don't want to do it, have a design, because you're never going to have a different design after that point. So that's what we talked about last time, is what are the improvements? And in this case, the improvement was smoke rise. It's part of our master plan since 1965, at least as far as I could find it, to have that road go through, to alleviate traffic, to make more connectivity, to help business growth for Laverne Drive in that area. So that's been on our plan. But also on our plan is a water looping issue. We have pipes that come up to feed the north end, but we need looping for a variety of reasons, so that we can keep that side full of water and strong. And we have to go across the 76 to do that, which is horribly expensive, and it's one of these things we just keep kicking the can down the road. But now's the time, if we're going to do it, to get something done. So these are important to certainly me, certainly to the engineering department, to get this infrastructure done, and now is the time to do it. Ultimately, though, we got to pay for it. We got to figure out what we're going to pay for in terms of this. We had initially had some conversations about these improvements, a wish list, if you will, of what we'd want to see, and that number was about $5 million. We've negotiated and whittled that down to about $3 million. So are we just going to cut the check for the $3 million? That's one option. Is it we don't want any of these improvements? That's another option. But I would suggest to you the best option is to take the increased value that we're going to have by having a development coming in there, use that increased value as in order to pay for these. And that's what a TIF is future value increased, borrowing against that by the developer or the city, and the city has done it in the past, but the developer in something like this, and then pay for the infrastructure that we need right now. So right now, with the two kinds of TIFs that we've been talking about, one kind was the 30-year TIF, and that's a very long period of time, but the advantages of that is the school gets paid 100% of what the TIF value would be as it came online. the more people have talked about it, the more concerns I hear about the length of time, that 30 years is just too long, which comes to and there was an objection by the county for that 30 years. So it came down to the second option is what I'm hearing the most positive feedback from community, from different members of council, is the 10-year 75% TIF. That means that for the next 10 years, up to 10 years, depending on what we decide is important to us and what we decide is not important to us, that 75% of the property tax, of the new property tax, not anything that they've already had, this is just making the pie bigger, 10% or 75% would go to pay for that infrastructure. 25% would go to the schools, the township, and the county as it was. If we decide that that's all we want to do is just those two things, we're going to pay for this in 2 or 3 years. So that is from when they start building out. So they don't build out right away. The first thing they do is put roads in. But then once it's built out, the money would be very rapid and pay it, so we can do it in sooner time. Or maybe we want to take that money and fund other projects that are eligible under this TIF, such as the roundabout, the R component that we have to pay in the roundabout. So that was also suggested, which would be something that would be available. So what I'm asking for at this time is this is the last thing that council does, is it approves the payment method for the upgrades. I would say this is something for committee of the whole. I'll certainly answer any questions you may have, but the recommendation based on the feedback I'm getting is for that 10%, 75% TIF. 10-year, 75%, I should say. Happy to answer any questions about that.
Okay, any questions?
I'm sure we're going to have some.
Yeah, committee of the whole?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figure we might as well just,
Right.
I think we've all heard about it. I think we should just move it up there and let's
Yeah.
discuss it as a group so we know what
We can do
everyone's
that.
thinking.
What did you say the overall cost was going to be?
The upgrades, it's around $3 million is what it is for the, that's what the cost of the drilling under the highway, the pipe oversizing it, and Smoke Rise Drive, various portions that are responsible for, the city is responsible versus what they're responsible. I'll give that breakdown at Committee of the Whole so you see exactly where that number comes from. And then if we're bringing something else in, like the roundabout, I can bring those numbers in as well.
Could you also send out some information prior to committee of the whole for us to,
absolutely. It's all public record. I'll give you everything I got.
get, all the numbers and everything?
You got it.
Thank you.
And one other thing, Mr. Davis, do you have anything you'd like to add to that as far as the infrastructure part of it?
No, other than I would certainly suggest very strongly that we not lose this opportunity to get Smoke Rise in and get the water line in. So I think it's a valuable addition to our system. How we do it is really is a different discussion. That your committee of the whole meeting would be a great place to discuss that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. If no other questions on that, we'll go ahead and move into the DORA amendment.
Sure. The DORA, designated outdoor refreshment area, we remember that from, we passed that last year. It's been very successful based on the metrics that I've seen. One of the new places downtown that is going to be eligible for something like that is the CIS, the Wadsworth Square, I believe is what it's going by or will be going by. They would certainly like the opportunity to enjoy the the new liquor licenses are available now. There's 15 liquor licenses for everything in that zone, not all for them, but it's 15 for everybody in that zone. But as part of the liquor license, they would like to perhaps have open festivals. They perhaps want to be able to sell things so they can go outside and enjoy it on their venue. It's a good candidate for the DORA, for the purpose of the DORA. So in order to do it, I have to have a public hearing. I have to go through council, and I have so we're going to have a couple readings on it. The map is attached to it as well as the legislation, so I wanted to get that out as early as possible so we don't hang it up.
On those 15 liquor licenses, that's just for this area, for the DORA area?
Not just for the DORA area. We made that more expansive, so that goes all the way to the DORA, all the commercial districts up here, and the transitional mixed-use district that's coming in, and the south side down to that area as well.
Okay.
So,
and then are they, I know you had mentioned there's different levels and varieties of those type, are they?
these are the Cadillacs.
These are 15 of the
good ones.
Okay.
But those can only be used in the designated revitalization district. So they're very excited about that.
No, if no other questions, I'll make a motion to move this ordinance to council of the whole for the door.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we can discuss that up there as well. Now we'll go ahead and move on to Right Drive dedication.
I just wanted you to have a chance to see this up front. I've been working on it. I've been working with the school and with the new owners of CIS. As we draw attention to our downtown, it's our opportunity to clean up some stuff. This was last platted in I wrote it down, 1892, I believe. So some of the lines have moved. Right now, the Right Drive is a private drive. 80% is owned by the school, 20% is city, thereabouts. And we have been maintaining it. We have been plowing it. So it makes sense for this to be a dedicated street. And while we're at it, let's clean up some of the other messes. If you look on that first sheet, this is kind of a map that shows an overlay map. If you notice, their property line goes into about the middle of the street. That's not good. We'd like to have that part dedicated as well and clean it up. The property down where the sidewalk is, that is currently on private property. We certainly want to make sure our pedestrians can use sidewalks. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. The Devil Strip is currently in their name as well. And I've been working with a surveyor. If you go to the second page, the yellow is what we're talking about dedicating. The pink is an easement which would allow pedestrian and infrastructure work to be done, so we don't have to wake people up in the middle of the night. If there's a pipe that blows up down there, we can have instant access to it. I'm currently discussing this with the school. However, the school moved the timeline up for transfer. So now I'm dealing with Wadsworth Square and their ownership, and it may slow down a little bit because we have a little bit more time. We're not under the gun, but those discussions are happening. Ultimately, if we want to have dedication, it's just like any plat. We're going to have to go through Planning Commission. They're going to make a recommendation, and ultimately it'll be your signature for if you want to accept this land as a dedicated street.
So this little over here on South Lyman, the little jut down, that's city property there too, correct?
That is
In the very
owned
corner?
by the Incorporated Village of Wadsworth in
Okay.
1892. So,
okay.
and we own it, but it's a long time ago, and I'm not sure what it's for.
And that will remain that way, or is it?
We're talking. It may make sense in the long scheme of things, if that's their entrance way, to have some type of property swap where, so
Yeah.
that's what the plat's for, so we can figure all that stuff out.
I would assume that if there's repairs on that road now, because the school owns 80% of it, they share in any repairs or anything that ever gets done to that road?
It's been my understanding that we have been taking care of that road like it has been dedicated already. I'm not 100% sure on that. It's public ways, maybe you can speak more to that.
Yeah, because it'd be interesting to know that, are there any repairs or anything that needed done to that road prior to us taking it in and then having to foot the bill for it?
Yeah, typically we don't take roads unless they're built to our standards. So that is something that we'll check out to make sure it's built to our standards.
Okay.
I have a question. Mr. Kaiser, do you have this on the agenda to discuss in planning? Said you needed to go to planning for that?
For Right Drive? Not at this point, no. When it gets to the point for platting, then it will go there.
We're still in discussion as to what we're
We've
doing.
still got to figure out
parts of it.
what the actual plat's going to look like.
Just trying to expedite so the school can close on the property.
Well, my
If they're
advice to
going to
them
close
has
before they
been,
transfer this.
my advice has been is because it takes so long for us to go to Planning Commission to go there, to transfer the property now, and I'll continue to deal with the Wadsworth Square people to get this fixed instead of going through the school. So let the transfer happen so we don't hold anything up, and then we'll still continue and get this done later.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Who is even going to be doing the surveying? Is that?
Now we're done with survey.
We're doing it, okay. Yeah, so we don't even have the documents to go to the Planning Commission yet.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. All right. You don't need anything from us right now?
I don't, I just wanted
Okay.
just to see what's going on, just in case.
Okay. Is that it for you, Mr. Morris?
That's it for me.
Okay, we'll go ahead and, Mr. Kaiser, you want to?
I have one question. It's been a couple months since we've had a business, local business updates.
Yeah.
We still doing those, or?
Yeah, Iton is the one who fields
Right.
all those.
Yeah.
I know she keeps the data, so I'll have her send out one if that's something that's helpful.
Do you know of any projects or any new businesses or anything coming in? to your knowledge?
Glenn will talk about the new construction and the different state of the new construction. I know that's things that have come in front of the, that have become public record is the Cleveland Clinic is going in where that Rite Aid is. So they've pulled some plans for that, so that'll be a nice addition in that area. And there is the Roto-Rooter, kind of it's a real neat business that just went in on the north end. They're a call center, and he owns a bunch of the franchises, so all the calls from partially around the country come into there. So they've just opened up their business. They own they purchased the Premier Center building, the Kovac building, as I knew it. They have the entire basement floor of that. Those are the ones that are right off the top of my head.
The clinic that's moving into Rite Aid, they're currently the one, that's the facility that's the One Park Center. They're going to be moving down there. Is that-
Yeah, Cleveland Clinic is the one, so they also have a pharmacy aspect of it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kaiser?
Just a couple quick items that have been on the agenda for some time. The public rental storage facilities, that zoning amendment was subject to a public hearing last week, so I think it's up for voting at your next meeting. I don't know if there were any concerns or questions about any of the text. I know we've had it on for several months, and it's just trying to clean up some of the issues, trying to come up with what are some of the best practices that other communities follow that maybe we ought to incorporate.
Yeah, I mean, I think you had the questions from council at the public hearing, so.
Okay. So nothing new on that. There is another amendment and another public hearing coming up on your August 19th meeting. That's for the transitional mixed-use zoning map. Again, back in November, you adopted the actual text, and going, based on that, we did create a new zoning district. It's pretty much the area north of downtown. It's currently, all of the properties are currently C1 commercial zoning. They would be made, they would become the TMU, the transitional mixed-use district. And it cleans up a lot of things because one, most of the properties are residential, okay, which means that they've been non-conforming uses for years. So it eliminates that, so people can continue to live there, buy, sell, make improvements without going through extra hoops that are required for non-conforming uses. And it then also allows for some of those residential uses to be converted to small-scale business uses, similar to those that are downtown. So it's kind of like the safety valve or spillover district for downtown, should we reach full capacity and need additional area for growth. So again, this is the first attempt to create the district. There are probably other areas out there that we will consider in the future.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. Any general updates?
And then just some general updates. Just wanted to talk about things that you'll probably see coming up in the next few months through Planning Commission and here. Looking at some of the zoning provisions and how they tend to get outdated quickly. We're looking at some potential changes to our sign regulations. One, to create a sign requirements for the TMU district. Currently, there are none because that zone doesn't yet exist. Also looking at the electronic message center signs, or EMCs. We've made those conditionally permitted, no matter how big or how small or where they're located. I think over time, in the last 15 years that we've had them in the code, I think we've got a good feel of where they're appropriate and where they're not. And so we might look at making them permitted by right in some districts and maybe conditional in others. Looking at section 154.083, those are our cluster development regulations. They're kind of no longer in alignment with our PUD regs, and so we will probably be tweaking those to make sure that the uses that they're allowed in a cluster development are pretty much identical to a PUD, because they are basically the same type of uses. Cluster developments are typically on smaller sized parcels. What else? Also looking at, was working with engineering, looking at our airport district map. There may be some changes coming up there based on the airport layout plan that we have in place. It's been approved by FAA, and I think there's some additional land that we purchased. It's still in the township that may need to be annexed and rezoned. So a lot of things kind of going on behind the scenes, and they should be coming up in the next few months.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Kaiser?
No.
All good. All right, that brings us to Mr. Davis in engineering.
Good morning. I often do these project updates, and we try to kind of keep to the projects that are a little more established, have been a little farther through the process, and just hitting the highlights of things that you might find of interest or community interest. Tonight, I wanted to bring a project that is a little bit earlier than we normally bring it, a little more speculative, but something's come up about a petition has been brought to us about a mine subsidence study for a project. It's on Reimer at Partridge. The development's title tentatively is Overlook Estates, for simplicity. And so, just in brief, the request from the neighbors is three things. They've asked for that we do a formal study for mine subsidence by what it says is independent qualified geotechnical engineering firm. Second, they've asked for what they call full transparency made publicly available of the results. And then third, they've asked for what they call a pause on development permits until that study is complete and reviewed by all. So just very briefly to describe the kind of the regulatory background to this, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources puts out maps of abandoned mines or likely locations of abandoned mines. We have that information, and we do know that this site is one of those locations. So normally speaking, when we get that, we would require of the developer to do a study just like they're asking for here. So that would be a normal part of the process. The developer finds their own engineer that they pay for, and then as part of their application, they submit that study to us with the rest of the application materials for the subdivision. So that's a normal part of the process that we would have expected. And we understand that they are working on that now. Mr. Kaiser did actually reach out to the developer, and they've already brought a firm on who is an independent geotechnical engineering firm at the developer's expense. So that's happening right now. We have not seen that yet. It's not been submitted to us, nor has the subdivision application been submitted to us. So just for the first point. Second point, it says full transparency of materials. And so just to make sure it's clear, a subdivision application is not customarily routed and publicized to the public. It's nothing against that, but it's not a public hearing where we automatically send it out for review. So that would not be a part of the normal process. However, these are public records, and so if anybody wants that material, we can get their information and we can send it to them whenever we receive it. So there's no need to make that not available either. So the intent would be if we have a list of names of interested parties, there's no reason why we couldn't make that available as soon as we have it. So for full transparency, that is, it's really required by public information requirements anyway, so that's not a problem. And the third thing is what they call a pause on development permits. And I just need to put that into context. Our regulations have certain timelines that we are obligated to meet, essentially to ensure that developments move along in a timely fashion, that we can't wait forever to approve things. And so that timeline can be shorter than most people expect. We do give review agencies who we do submit things to, we give them 10 days to respond. So that is a fairly tight time frame. And then the Planning Commission has, I believe it's 45 days?
Like Up to 90 days.
Up to 90 days, okay. So they have a certain time frame where they have by regulation to approve or deny. So within those time frames, we would certainly be able to notify and get whatever comments we would be able to get in and incorporate any information we would get. So the process normally goes is the application's received, the plan director and the city engineer make recommendations, summarize those as proposed conditions of approval, and then forward that to the planning commission, who then would either approve or deny. And I will just tell you, I would anticipate if I were to receive a geotechnical report recommending certain mine subsidence requirements, I would be remiss not to include those as proposed conditions of approval so that those are met. And then we would normally then say at the end of the project, the geotechnical engineer would go and confirm that their recommendations were met. So that's a typical part of the process. So I believe that we'll be meeting as much as we possibly can within the regulations, what they're asking for. And then I believe a formal response will be coming to you here shortly to the actual request here, but just to inform everybody.
If I could just add to that, I did speak to the potential developer of Overlook Estates earlier today. And again, what I was told is that yes, she's had a geotechnic engineering firm come out. They're done. They've taken the field studies. She is still waiting on the final report. Okay. Now again, remember this is being prepared by the individual landowner, so it's private matter. It's a private record right now. It will become public record once it is submitted with the subdivision application. So right now, we have nothing to give to anyone at this point in time.
If there's any remediation or whatever, then does the, once that's done, does the federal, the Mine Bureau have to come in and survey that themselves again, or once it's done by the private contractor, that's the accepted remediation?
I would defer to the engineering professional who would do that, but from our perspective, once the geotechnical engineer authorizes that their recommendations are met, we'd be satisfied.
Okay.
Whether or not they need to report that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you can definitely ask a question, but they can choose whether or not to answer.
Of course.
Right.
Just clarification, is the current work that's being done by the geotechnical engineer more soil samples, core samples? It's not a full mine study, is my understanding.
I'm not sure what you mean by full mine study, but they are doing core samples. So that's what they do. They try and check for the, basically they're looking to see how deep the roof is, okay, the mine roof. And usually that's how far down do we bore before we hit airspace and, drop a line and it never comes back. So that's really what those, so I'm not sure what you mean by a full mine study.
So the core sample, because it's different than the mine study, we were really requesting a little bit more depth. Now, Sawmill Lane, that had not happened, we wouldn't even be here. But we want to ensure that doesn't happen.
I was going to say, here, I understand that, but here's the problem. There's a lot of abandoned wells in eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and some of the maps that we have, I think it was from the late 1890s, and it only mapped about a quarter of them. Plus, I found out later that it was actually wrong. They had the geometry wrong, and everything was skewed about 20 or 30 degrees. So these things will happen. I'm aware of even one that happened in one of the parking lots up there. So there's really no ironclad guarantee that nothing will happen. But the point of the study is to examine the property and come up with the likelihood of this, of being their subsidence is low. Okay, will probably never be zero, but I think at the same time, if they find out that, hey, that geotechnical engineer might say the roof of the mine is only 12 feet before, under the surface, don't build anything here. You need to reroute your development, lay it out differently so that, there's no development activity or anything that's going to disturb the underground areas. And that's happened in some of the open space subdivisions, southeast part of town. I think the Bayberry Villas. The roads were laid out and the open space were laid out based on the geotech's analysis of where the mines were closer to the surface versus where they weren't. And his recommendation, keep your development away from here, but this part of the site's okay.
And just a quick update, I will tell you that there is another study we've been looking at for another project that's in another part of town, similar situation. And that study, I believe it may be the same engineer, it talked about going down into the mine, to the mine itself and putting these columns in there to provide kind of like pillars to keep the roof from caving in. So, I mean, they've got very detailed to make sure that the mine doesn't have subsidence issues. And so those are normally part of these studies. So that's what we're expecting.
And that's what we were kind of looking for, the more details. So thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
Any questions?
Okay, so just real quick, I have a couple other things for these updates. So that's the one that was the most pressing. I do have another quick update on projects that are getting close to going into construction. Briarthorn is a project that may be a familiar site to you, and we've had some timing issues. We're trying to, the developer's trying to hit some time windows, and development's difficult and can cause that the delays can cause tension on their finish line versus the starting point. All that to say, so we're working with the developer right now to give them a grading permit to be as flexible as possible with them, to get them started in construction, to help them get to their finish line. They've been fairly vocal about their frustrations about wanting to get started, and so we're working with them this week to get them started. So that you should start seeing work on that northern part of Briarthorn here probably into this week for that coordination effort. And the last thing I want to mention is we do have the property on Leatherman that it's 150 or so lots, I forget. 130 lots. That has been formally submitted for plan. With plans have been submitted for that. So that's underway from a plan review standpoint. So there's just some quick updates of the high level projects.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Davis? No questions?
Very good. Good report.
Okay. Any other business from anyone? Okay. If not, our next meeting is September 8th at 5 p.m. here in council chambers, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion. We are adjourned.
That was Creekside Commons, right? Yeah. Okay.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.